Howdy folks, Henry here with a fairly off-the-cuff video to showcase the Blender Exporter for the upcoming American Revolutionary range. I'll say up front that this one is very raw off the bat. It's my working file. This isn't the purpose-made exporter. It still needs to be cleaned up and slightly reorganized before getting to any consumers. But hopefully it just shows the crux of what I'm working on and what the intended options are. Do be prepared to see glitches or weird little artifacts or toggles. It's a messy file. I haven't had a chance to organize it yet. So quality-wise, hopefully not reflective of what you'll be getting, but showing the general crux of the models. Hopefully by now enough of you are familiar with my Blender exporters that you kind of know what to expect, but nonetheless you might be curious about looking at my work and maybe even taking a peek behind the curtain, because you might see some of how I've set stuff up for my own use. Anyway, in front of us here we have a model with all the toggles on to make a British officer marching with a fusel. Over on the right here we have the overview with all the toggles in it. These are all folders that we can toggle on and off to make assets appear or disappear for making custom miniatures. As things are still a bit messy, I don't know how much toggling we'll do, like to make this guide something else, but I'll at least show you how everything is organized at the time. So, at the top of the file we've got our legs. What we've got enabled here is the marching pose. At the moment there are options between short gaiters. I think... they're not done yet, sorry. So short gaiters are the marching ones. The long gaiters, which is what I just tried to toggle on, are here. Sorry, medium gaiters they're called. These are the medium gaiters. Going back to the marching poses, we should also have officers' boots there for some officers. And I am hopeful the stretch goals will fund that will see me make these gaitered trousers. These are long single-piece trousers that were made out of old cloth and sailcloth and things. You'll find that as resplendent as the British troops look in their 1768 warrant, as the war goes on, and in the Southern Theatre especially, the uniforms start to look quite rugged and utilitarian, which might be a surprise for a lace wars period, I suppose. For other leg poses, these are going to look messy as I toggle between them. We've got standing firing, which is used for some of the action poses, the shooting and whatnot. Running, which I've not rigged up those legs that are active to yet. I'll need to fix that. Advancing, still very raw. Kneeling, and kneeling firing. By the way, I export my miniatures from a separate file, so I know some of that stuff looks messy, but I have actually produced all of the models and their skirmishing poses and everything. I just need to move the assets back to my master file here. Funnily enough, I found that it's actually easier for me to work in smaller files, which is what I know a lot of users of my work do, because the big files can get quite chunky. It can be difficult to find everything you need, so sometimes it's useful just to copy and paste stuff like British infantry just to their own file. Yeah. Anyway, next down here we have upright poses, you can see. So this is something that people who have seen my Cold War miniatures might be familiar with. When the Franco-Prussian War Blender files come out, which will be later this month, I'm recording this in April, it will have the same thing. There's a distinction between upright poses, which is with a straight back, and stoop poses. Sorry, this looks messy because I've got a lot of stuff toggled on. Stoop poses just means the model's bent over, which you want for a guy who's on horseback or a model that's running. If you look at my Native Americans I've made for this range, they use a lot of bent back poses. Actually, I think they have do they have 3 postures I've added? But mostly these regular armies are just in the upright poses. And under upright and stoop respectively, you get a little parts folder underneath which has hats and heads and then common bits. So for hats, we've got cocked hats in a variety of orientations. I've added a new askew one, though it's a very small difference, but just want to look a jaunty, dashing officer. Other than cocked hats, we've got slouch hats with different brims, which I should cycle through. So that's a round hat with a straight brim, rough brim, curved brim, and the brim itself can be either straightly curved or roughly curved. This friendly marker, which you see American insurgents pinning to their hats, just like a little white, I don't know if it was a bit of paper or a cloth, but they'd wear a white thing in their head to show that they were rebels. And some add-ons to which one would that go with? Yeah, with the straight brim. Yeah, a little cockade for the Brits, and I'll add a plume when the Bloodhounds fund, hopefully. Other than that, those are the shared hats we've got. Oh, sorry, there'll be some down here that haven't been added yet. We've got a Monmouth cap as well. Looks a bit silly on a British officer, doesn't it? Maybe he's considering his rap career, I don't know. And if the German Hussars fund, we'll have a Militon. There are a lot of stretch goals for this project. Down here, we've got some British hats. So this one is a Dragoon hat. The Dragoon hat has two different mains. So we've got this still static one for trotting and standing poses, and then for a full-on gallop, this one that's just flowing in the wind. Chain helmets for light infantry. A plumed light infantry hat. I'm not sure what this is called. This is still a chain helmet, maybe. We've got, just hiding my reference images there, we've got a bearskin for the Grenadiers, which I can do a separate Fusilier cap for. I might just do that anyway. I do have Fusiliers as a stretch goal, but they're a deep stretch goal because I think that when the model is like this big, nobody's going to be able to tell if it's a Fusilier or a Grenadier. The bearskin's basically the same height. As far as I can tell, the only difference is that there'd be a different plate, and the Grenadier models, I can possibly show you later, have some badges here and like a little fuse. Very small details, so I thought it was a wasted stretch goal slot to have it early on. And we have a cut down Saratoga hat for if that stretch goal funds. It's work in progress here, it's not finished because it's a stretch goal. Anything else? Oh, we have a crusted hat for the Royal Artillery too, which you'll see on the pictures for those models when I release those. And for the Continentals, they have these were different mains. Sorry. They have a Dragoon helmet here, and that can have a long plume attached, which I should make a galloping version for. The STLs of the Continental Cavalry have this short plume. Yes, and they could also be exported with this plainer hat, which doesn't look as good. Below that we'll have the Hessians, but they are another stretch goal, so nothing's been done for them yet. But you could expect, you know, Fusilier and Grenadier miters for them. Right, let's leave a cocked hat on, shall we? Beneath that, and I'm sorry, I'll try to pick up the pace, so we're going fairly slowly. We've got the head options, which have different hairstyles. Here we have tied hair, which can either be tied with this pretty little bow, if he is a dandy officer, or with a plain tie, which is what's on the townsman militia. Also got a tied queue for the regular rankers, and Grenadiers have a special tied up queue, which I assume was tied up and worn straight back into the bearskin or hat. Only the Grenadiers have used this so far. Put tied queue there. For hair, you can see he's sporting a wig right now. But they also have unkempt hair. You'd have to get rid of the queue. Unkempt hair for your rugged wilderness men. This is their hair that I have on the militia in hunting shirts. Oh, and to stop the cropping, we can get rid of the base there. By the way, sorry, it is an unstructured off-the-cuff video. I appreciate some people watching this might not be familiar with my Blender exporters, so I should probably explain what I'm doing. The basic controls you need to know to use this, and it's most simple, is you've got folders here on the right. These arrows collapse and expand the folders, and the white eyeball toggles them. So if you click this, it hides. That's how, at its most simple level, the Blender exporters function. They are like toggleable wardrobes of equipment and clothing and gear for your models. Right. Getting down now, we have a messier part of the file that he's cleaning up. waistcoat options here. I'm probably going to get rid of this standard waistcoat because I have a second version that's just the front half. If I move it forward, you can see, because the back is hidden by the coat. So we have a standard waistcoat, which can be, you're not going to be able to easily see it, but it's toggles between the different poses. So if you're doing a model that's standing and firing or kneeling and firing, you'll need to change this up so the coat looks right. It's got standard buttons here and different pockets. Right now I have it set to mounted pockets. Standing pockets, but they're hidden by this officer's sash. If you shift left click items, you can group select them, press H to hide them. There they are. Control Z to undo. Okay, going down, sabers here. I haven't put the sabers on any of my models because, as far as I could see, the British Grenadiers left their sabers in depot, but perhaps these will be used on the Hessians. Got 2 sabers there, one worn under the coat, one worn over the coat. This could be useful if you wanted to do some 7 Years' War conversions as well, using my new longer legs. The 7 Years' War Kickstarter is available as a late pledge to this campaign, so you could mix and match these exporters together. I'll have written elsewhere on the Frontiers page about the differences. It's essentially that these models have slightly longer legs, so you can either copy these models' legs into the 7 Years' War exporter, or vice versa and make these shorter. I have done a video on that, which I can put in the description. Okay, moving on. Here we have a British collar that can be swapped out for a continental collar. The continental collar has an option of buttons being added here. All this stuff covering up, these are all officers' options. You know, a centre company man would look like this. Let's hide those for now, actually. Underneath the collars, we've got lapels. So the standard curved lapels, currently set to British Infantry, 16th Light Dragoons. The difference here is just the spacing. It's a very small difference. These are evenly spaced, and the Dragoon ones are paired off. I don't know if people are going to care enough about that. The British buttons can be swapped out for plain buttons, which is what's on the Continentals. Sorry. Should have had some more water before I started. Going down, we can change this long coat, get rid of the lapels for a plain long coat. These are bits for the plain long coat. To change the coat itself, we would change it here under one of the poses. So there's a plain coat. Again, this looks good for militiamen, civilians, or potentially worse outfitted regulars, or even 7 Years' War figures. Yes, going back up here, we've got sleeve waistcoat. Let's just turn off the older waistcoat buttons. They're up here. Standard waistcoat, just turn it off. And swap out here for on the pose. To clarify what I'm doing, sorry, the bits like buttons and things that go over the garment are in the toggles I was just looking at. To change the actual clothing, because each piece of clothing is rigged to each pose, you change it under the pose. This is my pose list. Change plain coats to sleeveless waistcoat. And there he is wearing his waistcoat. Looks a bit silly with the collar, but we can hide that. And this is essentially what my militiamen look like. Hide the British cuffs. Hide the frilled cuffs. Lace cuffs. There you go. This hand is a bit out of sync there. I will fix that. Like I said, sorry, raw file. Prior to uploading this, the initial release, I'm going to go through pose by pose and check every bit, fix it up. But for the time being, I'm going to be flying soon, and so I want to take advantage while I'm still home with my powerful PC and decent internet connection to get the models themselves fixed first. But it will all be done on time prior to release. Anyway, sorry, enough excuse making. I think that shows the upright poses nicely enough. Other than that, we've got some officer stuff. So here we have officers' swords. We can get rid of this saber from before. So we have an officer's sword there. Marching one has a support built in. Could be again under the coat or over it. Let's change that waistcoat back to a long coat. And where's the long coat options? Curved lapels, that's it. And the collars. British flag collar. Get rid of that one. Oh, this is a fictional unit, but I am aware I'm wasting time. So down here we've got poses. I'll just cycle through them. They're going to look a bit buggy because all sorts of toggles are going to be on that shouldn't. Here's the standard shoulder arms marching pose with optional British wings. These can be toggled off. Shoulder straps. These extra arms are what are causing that distortion there. That's shoulder arms, marching 2, marching 3, marching 4, drummer marching, fifer marching, NCO at advance arms. An NCO or an officer, we've just seen this pose, but you can actually swap this fusel out for a partisan or a spawn 2. Going back now. Officer with sword. I need to add the sword in, but that's just marching with an upright sword. Standard bearer. The flagpole is toggleable, so you can just have him like this. So you can put a rod through there if you wanted to. My stretch goal poses. And then down here, you have unlocked at the start of the campaign. Sorry, there's my reference image. You have present fire, draw ramrod. Where is your musket? There it is. Choice of a brown bess or a Charleville, depending on if you're doing a Briton or a rebel. Although brown bess is still okay for rebels, to be honest. More stretch poses, and down here the lights. The poses that I'm only doing for lights, it's just readying poses, needing loading, needing firing. Obviously, you would need to swap these out with the kneeling legs, like so. Again, I appreciate it's a bit of a mess. You'd need to get all your toggles right, but I'm just conscious I'm using people's time here, so I just want to get everything right. For cavalry, I just switch to my cavalry poses. So you'll see here I have a large folder called, these are all the, got marching, firing, action lights, artillery crew, foot command, mounted, put on the mounted legs. Mounted legs and riding boots. This is the basic holding reins pose, and where are the horses? Horses. There's a horsey, and along with all that, at the top we have our poses here, and at the top of the horse folder, horse equipment, which is what you can see here. So you can toggle between. At the moment, there's not too much here, but there's fur holsters, leather holsters, and a choice of scabbards. Yeah, nothing too interesting at the moment. I've actually found that where is that horse blanket? That I've only got 2 horse blankets at the moment. I've got this curved Hungarian-style British one with a badge on it that nobody's ever going to see because it's covered by either the holsters or the leg, and just a plain horse blanket here. As I cover more cavalry types, well, there's only 2 or 2 to be covered. If I see that any other blankets are suitable, I will add them. On the stretch goals, we've got, I think I mentioned earlier, German hussars and cavalry and hunting shirts. So the hussars might have a shabrack, you never know, but I imagine that the hunting shirt cavalry probably have a very plain horse blanket. You might notice this left arm is a bit distorted. It's because I've got 2 arm choices for it, but if I switch this to the musician, under the coats here you have a choice of laced arms. That will sync it up nicely. Get rid of the epaulette off the left. Get rid of the shoulder boards there. There, that's a musician. Anyway, I think that's getting you the end of it. If you haven't caught on so far, I'm not sure what else I can say. Last bit to just show you is the national options at the bottom. Just go swap the legs back to something less distracting, to the marching legs. And let's change the cavalry to just a bog standard marching figure. There we go, marching figure. National parts, we got some shared parts here. These are still needing some further refinement. Get rid of these officer parts. We've got haversacks. So haversack on the left, haversack on the right. and one for kneeling with, so it's in a different position. Let's add that for doing a box standard regular. Bayonet frog. Oop, I've misclicked. Bayonet frog, which could be worn over the coat. Hidden a bit, but it's under the haversack. Or under the coat. From what I can see, there are some issues with this. There's like how things looked on the parade ground and how things looked in real life. So bayonet frog worn under the coat, that seems to be typical like for the parade ground, again with the long gaiters as well. But I found that on campaign, just like how grenadiers left their sabres in the depots, Brits wore short gaiters, and sabres and officers' swords were worn over the coat rather than under. It seems, though I'm happy to be corrected. Other regular parts, we've got a canteen. Canteen pairs with a haversack, so you can have it there or mirrored, where it'll rest on top of the haversack again. So it's a canteen. The light infantry have a powder horn, and an optional belly box, which I haven't included on the STLs because it doesn't seem to have been used. Apparently it wasn't very comfortable to use. Let's get rid of those buttons. I mentioned the grenadiers earlier, so if we have, where is the cartridge pouch? See up here, this doodad rests on the cartridge pouch. I think it's got something to do with fuses. And on the back we have some grenadier turnbacks, which we sync up for marching. My neighbours decided just to start drilling, so I'll cut this short. We have similar options for the Continentals below, and the militia have a bunch of gubbins as well for like tomahawks and things that could be worn on their gear as well. Anyway, thank you for listening. I don't know how long this has ended up, so if you've stuck all this way through, I admire your attention span. Thank you very much. Hope you like what you see. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I want to reinforce that this was a very raw file. What goes into your hands should be much nicer. But generally, where you see cropping issues and things, it's because I need to select the right toggle. There are sub-toggles for things like waistcoats to be between marching and standing. Hats have their different orientations to fit with the muskets over the top. Webbing needs a bit of bug fixing. Worst case scenario, you shouldn't have to do it, but if some webbing's messed up, click it, press tab, click drag, press the G key to grab, and you can adjust it manually. Anyway, Colonies Asunder launches on April 12th, 2024, and please consider supporting it if you like what you saw. Take care, guys, and yeah, have a good day.